Hi guys, so here is the first chunk of our new short story, Big Things Come in Small Packages by Eleonora E. Tate. I want to tell you about a boy I knew who lived in Morehead City, North Carolina, some years ago named Tucker Willis. He lived by Calico Creek where it narrows down to marsh grass, flounder, and fiddler crabs. It's not far from the backside of the Morehead City Port Terminal, where the big ships come in from the Atlantic Ocean. Everybody liked him, and he was good at almost everything he put his hand to. But when Tucker turned 11 or 12, he was still so short he looked like an elf. And you know how it is when you're a little different from other folks in even some harmless kind of way. Kids called him Tom Thumb, Squirt, Midget, Inchworm, and Dwarf. I thought Tucker was the cutest little thing in the world, but to him back then, I was old knock-kneed LaShawna May, the girl who lived down the street. I was a couple years younger than him. We were friends, though, and went to the same church, St. Luke's Missionary Baptist, and the same school. Back in those days, in the 1970s, young boys and girls didn't hang out as boyfriend and girlfriend like kids do now. Plus, I was just a skinny girl with braids and braces. Kids called me Wires because of those braces, and boy did it ever make me mad. So Tucker and I had a lot in common, and lots of times we talked about the things kids called us, especially when we went fishing. Even though being called those names hurt, Tucker gave up fighting the kids who said them. Fighting didn't help. The name callers were all too big for him to beat up. So, after a while, he learned to ignore the teasing. Most times he laughed it off. He was a tough little dude, but oh mercy how he hated those names. One day, Tucker did something that made everybody stop calling him names he didn't like. I think it helped him grow a few inches too. You need to know a few things about this boy before I tell you what changed things around. Tucker could do almost anything that any other kid his age could do. He was a hot-shot shortstop on the Little League baseball team. He could jump like a flea on the basketball court. He was smart in school. He was in the Boy Scouts. He could swim like a fish and even surf. He looked like a Tootsie Roll to me in that big ocean. Yeah, I had a name for him too. I called him Tootsie Roll, but never to his face. I just kept it to myself. And when I called him that in my head, I didn't mean it in a bad way. Tucker could do some fishing. He especially liked to fish his folks' little pier alongside their house. In the summertime, he'd lie on his stomach on the pier and catch some of the biggest flounder to come out of Calico Creek. Instead of a rod and reel, he used a handful of fishing line, a hook baited with shrimp, and a sinker to keep the bait from floating on the surface. He'd dangle that shrimp an inch or two off the bottom, right in front of a flounder's nose. Sometimes we'd fish together on his pier, and I wouldn't catch diddly squat, not even a pinfish, not even a lizard, nothing. But old Tootsie Roll could catch 'em all. I tried fishing the way he did, but most of the time I used a rod and reel because I thought the way Tucker did it was country. I still couldn't catch anything, not in Calico Creek. I did all right when I fished at the pier in Atlantic Beach. That's how I'd see Tucker surfing. He even got teased about surfing because not many black kids we knew surfed. Shoot, as much as we all loved the water, not a whole lot of us even knew how to swim. I didn't, not until Tucker taught me later on. He and his dad or mom would fish out on their little pier all night sometimes with a Coleman lantern for light. His folks used regular rods and reels. I never fished out there at night with them because the mosquitoes and the gnats would about eat me up. Plus, my mama liked to tell me they used to do baptizing in that creek, which was okay. But then mom would say, LaShawna May, you better watch out about being around that creek by yourself at night. The people who got baptized there and who've passed on come back to that creek as spirits in the middle of the night when the moon's full. They'll be singing and celebrating and shouting and praising, and they don't want to be disturbed, unless you want to join in with them. Me being a scared little kid, you can believe that Mama didn't have to worry about me going out to nobody's Calico Creek by myself at night. But sometimes I'd go to my window at night and look out to see if anybody was celebrating the way she said. All I ever saw were grown folks fishing. Sometimes somebody would holler when they caught a big one. After I got grown, I understood that Mama told me that story to try to help me stay out of trouble. She was worried I'd drown or get into some kind of foolishness. Well, it worked. I knew that it was easy to get into trouble when you're out someplace where you're not supposed to be.